A lot of manga show psychopaths killing innocent people and then disappearing. But what happens when those same monsters are hunted by someone even worse? In Brutal, Detective Hiroki Dan doesn't trust the justice system. He believes some criminals are far too evil for prison. So instead, he kidnaps them, tortures them, and delivers his own horrifying version of justice. This isn't a story about heroes. This is a story about serial killers, rapists, and murderers being hunted by a man who may be even more dangerous than they are. And trust me, Brutal truly lives up to its name. Torture, bloodshed, psychological horror, and punishments so disturbing that even some of the darkest revenge manga feel tame. Now, one quick thing before we begin. This is the full combined version of both Part 1 and Part 2. If you've already watched Part 1, you can skip directly to Part 2 using the timestamp on screen or in the description. But if you're new to the series, start from the beginning. And even if you've watched both parts before, watching this full version again will refresh everything, connect the story better, and probably remind you just how twisted Hiroki Dan really is. So, if you think you can handle it, let's dive into the full story of Brutal. So, the story begins, and we're shown a 16-year-old boy who is playing a game in his room. Then, we're shown that his room is surrounded by the corpses of small children whose hands, feet, and mouth he has cut off. And now we go straight 20 years ahead, where our main character is shown, Hiroki Dan, who is a very smart and talented detective. And he's pretty famous in his office circle because he has the charm, the discipline. In short, he's a perfect guy. Now, he was watching the news on TV, and it was about the same guy who had killed children 20 years ago. We're told that the criminal himself was jailed after brutally killing 2, 3, and 4-year-old girls, and the serial killer's name was the Courier Butcher. And today, 20 years later, his sentence is over. And now, a news channel is showing him on the news to get its high ratings, where he was crying and regretting. And he admits that he feels very bad about all those murders. But now, he has changed, and now he wants to start a new life ahead. Now, people had mixed reactions to this. Some were saying that he wants to improve. This is a very good thing. And some were saying, how did such a criminal even get released from jail? He should have been hanged. Now, we are shown that after a week, that news reporter was sitting in a 5-star hotel with that criminal where he was eating. And there, we find out that that criminal has not improved at all. He is still the same. And whatever he said on TV was an act. And then he picks up the knife and tells him, in the initial cuts, I was having a lot of trouble because their bones were getting in the way. But after cutting 3 to 4 times, I got used to it. But you know, if you keep dead bodies for a long time, they start to smell bad. Then I got an idea. And then I packed the parts of their body and started sending them to their family. That's how I got the name, the Courier Butcher. And then he starts laughing and says, imagine how they must have felt seeing the body parts of their children in there. And he only kills for enjoyment. And such people should not stay alive because they are not human. The reporter says, why don't you apologize to the family members of those children once? This will make your image clearer in front of people. Then he starts strangling the reporter and tells him, you handle all this yourself. I'm not going to apologize to anyone now. The next day, when he was going to the subway, he sees a baby, and inside him, urges start to arise. Like, if I hold the baby's neck and break it, then what a strange sound will come out. And he was wandering in a street like this. Then Hiro comes from behind and makes him unconscious. And when he regains consciousness, he was in a room where Hiro had locked him up. And on the TV in front of him, the Exorcist 1973 movie was playing. Then Hiro says, it is my favorite movie. And you know, it is the only horror movie to be nominated for an Oscar. It is an interesting fact, because I didn't know that it is the only horror movie to be nominated for an Oscar. It is an interesting fact, so thank you, Hiro. But the criminal was thinking, what am I doing listening to this? Then Hiro says, look, there is going to be a great scene. Now they will exorcise him. He says, stop all this and tell me why you brought me here. Then Hiro goes and picks up a chainsaw and brings it over. Then he says, you know, in this country, 80,000 people disappear every year. And if a person like you also disappears, then I don't think anyone will care. Now he runs the chainsaw, and his left hand starts cutting. And because of the pain, he was screaming badly. After that, it cuts and gets stuck in his bone. He says, I have to put a little more strength. And then he puts all his strength and cuts off his entire hand. Hiro says, sorry man, this was my first time, but in the next 3 to 4 cuts, I will get used to it. Now he was clinging to his line. Then he falls down and says, please let me go. You want money, right? I'll give you as much as you want. Hiro says, it's my favorite scene of this movie. And then he adds that scene and shows it by doing chakrasan. And looking at him in front, his heart was bursting. He didn't understand whether I was more of a psycho or this. Then he says, let's go straight to the climax. And then he cuts off all his limbs. And with his chopped off limbs, he puts a light on the side and makes a Christmas tree. Then he takes a picture of it and says, I have no interest in money or revenge. I like to see the face of desperation and hopefulness. And then he burns him alive, and he puts his photo in his album, whose number was 27, which means this is his kind of hobby, and he is killing such criminals. Then the next day, he goes to the church and says to the priest there, "I burned that evil and erased it from this world." He also says that one of my friends is still in heaven, and I want to meet him after I die. That's why I'm doing as much good work as I can. Now it is shown that some boys mixed drugs in a girl's drink and made her drink it, and then they all took advantage of her and did a gang rape. Now the next day, in the police department, Heroes Jr. tells him about the case of the same girl who was gang raped. She tells him that the girl's name was Yasuno, and one day she went on a blind date, and there they played a game, and whoever loses, he will have to drink as a punishment. Now in that game, Yasuno loses. After that, those boys mix something in her drink, and when she gets drunk, they take her to their apartment, and taking advantage of it, they gang rape her. The next day when she wakes up, she was lying naked in a street. Now after a few days, she told me that all this happened to her, but we have no proof or evidence against those boys. It is so frustrating. On the other hand, it is shown that the leader of the group of those boys, Ikewaki, his lawyer comes and talks to Yasuno, and tells her that, "Take this money and drop the case you have just filed," but she refuses. After that, he shows her the video of her gang rape and tells her, "If this video gets out, more people will watch it, and your name will be ruined. Remove the charges you have filed." Now a story is shown about a boy whose name was Taichi Aoyama, who had been bullied since his school days. And he was like this in college too. He had no girlfriend and no friends. But in his college, Teru Ikewaki also used to study there, where he used to run his own club, MOT, in which he used to train introverts and uncool people to make them cool. And he used to teach them to live the lifestyle they always wanted to live. Now Taichi thinks that this club might be good for him. He pays their admission fee and joins them. Now he used to hang out with them by going to different places, and listening to him, he mixes a girl's drink with a drug. Now he brings her to his apartment and tries to get intimate with her. But then Taichi says, "This seems like we are forcing this girl." Ikewaki says, "Notice her properly. She's wet. This only means that she wants it." And this is how he convinces him. Then they all gang rape her, and Ikewaki says, "We share the same hole. That's why we share all the fun." Now Taichi was changing after listening to Ikewaki. His hairstyle also changes, and his personality also became charming. Now at a part-time job, he makes friends with a girl, and then they get close, and now they are in a relationship. Now Taichi goes to Ikewaki and says, "I have to quit MOT. Now I have a girl, and I'm in a relationship with her, and I like her, and now I can't hook up with you anymore." The rest of the club were shouting at him, but Ikewaki lets him quit easily. Now the next day, when he was out with his girlfriend, the MOT club guys come and hit him on the head, and they were holding his girlfriend and forcing her. Then Ikewaki comes and says, "We share the same hole. That's why we also share all the fun." Now Ikewaki goes and tells that girl to lose her virginity, that too with the help of a cucumber, but she refuses. Then he goes to her boyfriend and puts cigarette ashes in Taichi's eyes so that his eyes get damaged, and he suffers from pain. Now seeing him like this, his girlfriend has to listen to him and do everything, and then they gang rape her. Now, the next day, when Taichi goes to his girlfriend's house, he sees that she tried to commit suicide. Luckily, she survives and was admitted, but Taichi knew that the trauma Ikewaki had given her was the reason why she did this. On the other hand, we see that Ikewaki is sitting in his apartment, and he was showing his lawyer the video of yesterday's gang rape, and he was also getting happy while watching. Outside the gate, Taichi came with the money from his funds, for which Ikewaki didn't send him. Then, he gets a message, "Please come out to the balcony," but the number from which he got the message was not known to him. And as soon as he goes out on the balcony, on the other hand, Taichi enters. As soon as he looks inside, Taichi slaps his lawyer with a hammer, who was watching his girlfriend's video. After that, he beat all his friends one by one, and Ikewaki got scared when he saw the emergency gate. After breaking it, he went to the balcony, and there, Hiro was sitting. He goes there and asks him to help him. "There, a boy killed all his friends," Hiro says. "Oh no, now I have to call the police." And then he starts dialing the phone and says, "Why aren't they answering? Oh man, I forgot that this is not a phone but a stun gun." And boom, he shocks him and makes him unconscious. Now, when his eyes open, he was in Hiro's house, and his ass was wide open. Now Hiro says, "Oh ho, you're awake." And then he makes his sign of "you," and then he brings a cross and puts it in. And then he goes inside and outside, and he was suffering. Hiro says, "Won't you do your cool pose?" And then he forces him to do his pose. And then he keeps going inside until his hole becomes a cave. And he keeps going for many hours. And then he dies of pain. And then he takes his photo and puts it in his album. And then the next day, he goes to church again and says, "I feel good after doing that." Then we are shown that in a mall, A psycho killed 3 to 4 random people with a sword. When the police came to investigate, there was also a kid there whose mother was killed in this incident. And then a journalist comes, Masaharu Onizuka. He was asking that little kid, how does it feel to see your mother die in front of your eyes? I mean, bro didn't even hesitate. So Hiro comes there and asks him to leave. Now this Onizuka is so obsessed with his work that he crosses all the limits. Now he goes to the same mall criminal's house and starts questioning his mother, saying that because of your values, your son is committing such a murder. You are as guilty as he is. Now, his mother's condition was already bad, and after hearing this, she goes into even more depression, and then she kills herself from the roof. And then her daughter, the same poor girl, starts crying. And then that journalist comes with his entire team and starts questioning her. Why did your mother commit suicide? Is it because of your son's arrest? And that guy was not even letting that poor girl cry. And then we are shown that Onizuka's daughter was also a bitch, like father, like daughter. She was bullying her teacher in class. And once she crossed all the limits and started cleaning his face with a washroom mop. And then her teacher's patience broke and he pushed her away. And then she called her father and filed a case of corporal punishment against her teacher. And Onizuka insisted and got that teacher suspended from that school. And then he doesn't stop there. He also publishes this news in the newspaper. And that teacher's name was getting ruined everywhere. All the news reporters were coming to his house and questioning him. And he couldn't take it anymore. And then he commits suicide with his wife, and he also had a little girl who was lying there all alone. So after 4 to 5 days, the police reach there, and then Hiro starts working on this case. And then, in the depth of the investigation, he finds out that the poor teacher was innocent, that Onizuka's daughter was bullying him. And then the footage that he gets spreads all over the city. After that, everyone finds out who made this mistake. And then everyone starts questioning Onizuka's daughter. And then she goes into depression. And then her father, Onizuka, comes to talk with her. And here we are also shown how big of a psycho this guy is, because he also starts interrogating his own daughter. Since when were you bullying that teacher? Tell the truth. And were you bullying him because you knew that your father is a very powerful reporter and you would be safe no matter what you did? And then he also publishes his daughter's news in the magazine. And then, while going in the car, he was talking to a guy. She wasn't my daughter. She was just my interview subject. Yes. She also committed suicide. After all, driving someone to suicide is the greatest award for a journalist. And then we see that behind his car, Hiro was sitting. And when he looks back, Hiro says, "Look ahead, or we're going to get into an accident." And when the red light comes and he stops the car, Hiro makes him unconscious. And when his eyes open, he is in his room. Then Hiro brings acid, spills a little on him, and makes him suffer. And then he says to him, "You judge others, right? Now I will judge you." And then he puts the entire acid bottle into his mouth and makes him drink it. After that, all the organs of his body burn and smoke starts coming out of his mouth, and that's it. Now he won't survive. He died. Later, that teacher also becomes psycho-proof, and the little daughter of that teacher. Now her grandparents are raising her, and they also thank Hiroki for solving this case. Now let's see. Hiroki gets up in his apartment, takes a bath, and today his bike broke, so he goes to the office by metro. While going, a woman's child was crying, and a man was getting upset with him, whose name was Yudai Oga, and he was mentally abusive and was cursing the mother and her child. After that, when he goes to the office, he also gets scolded by his boss, and when he was coming back from the office, he was extremely angry. That's why he was pushing everyone. That's when he sees a woman with her child, and he goes and kicks her trolley. Now, if I don't tell you the main thing, this guy is especially hateful toward women. Bro, why does everyone hate women and kids in this manga? And he was going back home from the metro, and the woman next to him, her child, was crying. And just because of this anger, he gets an idea to punish her. And when the station is about to come, he opens the baby's strap from behind. When the station comes, the rush suddenly increases, and the woman is pushed. And that's when her child is about to fall, but she quickly injures herself and saves him, and he was happy to see this. And he says, "This is your punishment." By the way, if that child had fallen and died, it would have been more fun. And then he starts walking away, and that's when we notice that Hiroki was also behind him, and he goes to a lounge with his friends for a drink, and Hiroki comes there and secretly mixes something into his drink. After that, when he was going back home by metro, we see that a pregnant woman is standing there, looking very uncomfortable. After that, a girl is about to give her seat to the pregnant woman, and he sees this and quickly goes and sits there himself. Now, because of the drugs that Hiroki had mixed into his drink, he falls into a deep sleep. After that, when his eyes open, Hiroki has tied him to a bridge, and when he looks down, he realizes he is sitting in a baby trolley. Hiroki says, "You tried to make that child fall, right? Now you fall too and see how it feels." He says, "It was just a prank. I didn't want to hurt him." Hiroki says, "This is also a prank. Don't worry. And then he throws him down. When he is falling, Hiroki tells him that rope is tied to the strap of your baby carrier. That is your lifeline. If it breaks, you're also done. Now he is hanging there. He swings in the air for a while, and then, after some time, because of the weight, that strap breaks, and he falls down the cliff and dies. The same strap that he opened to make the baby fall. That strap is the reason he died. What an irony. Part 2 starts with a struggling iTuber. Like many small creators, he tries typical challenge videos, ordering everything from a restaurant menu. Nothing works. No matter what he uploads, the views never come. After all that effort, his channel only has 53 subscribers. But Noah is obsessed with becoming an iTuber. One day, while walking down the street, he witnesses a car accident. A girl is badly injured and bleeding on the road. Instead of helping her, he starts recording. When he uploads the footage, the video suddenly explodes with millions of views. For the first time, he understands what people really want to watch. After that moment, Noah begins creating more extreme content. He even goes to the house of the old man, responsible for the accident, and titles Crashing the Criminal's House. The video gets huge attention again. Now he's convinced the more shocking the content, the more views it gets. Soon, he crosses an even darker line. One of his fans agrees to help him create a situation. While riding the metro, she falsely accuses a random man of touching her. The man starts to refuse, but Noah rushes in with a camera, pretending to expose a criminal. The man keeps insisting he's innocent, but the crowd turns against him. Terrified, he runs toward the next station, and Noah also runs behind him. But in the chaos, he slips onto the tracks, and the train crushes him. Even after witnessing this, Noah only cares about one thing: the video. Later, the fan who helped him is shaken by what happened. She says she never expected someone to die. Noah says, "You have proof that I got you to do this? See, by doing this, I got views, and you got a chance to have sex with a celebrity. It's a win-win situation. Forget it. And if you can't forget it, and you feel more guilty about this situation, then call me, and we will do a live stream of your suicide." One day, Noah finds a strange DVD at his house. When he plays it, he sees a man dancing inside a room. At first, he laughs until he realizes something terrifying. That room is his own. Before he can react, Hiroki knocks him unconscious. When Noah wakes up, there's a camera pointed directly at his face. Suddenly, Hiroki runs over Noah's legs with a car, crushing them while calmly filming everything. As Noah screams in pain, Hiroki greets the camera. "Hey, the camera's here. Say hi." Hiroki says, "It's not fun. Let's go more extreme." He continues torturing him, destroying his limbs and eventually burning his body alive. For Hiroki, this is justice. But Noah isn't the only person he punishes. We then meet a group of college students who are very rude and aggressive. One day, they are burning crackers by the river, and a homeless guy comes who lives in a box house. He shows them a sign that says "No crackers" and tells them not to burn crackers because it could catch fire. But they get offended and start misbehaving with him. The next day, they come there again. When that guy is not in his box house, they break it and set it on fire. Inside, it was a photo of his only wife. When he comes and sees this, and starts crying. And when they see him crying, they are all laughing. The next day they are on the road. They see another homeless guy's house and set fire to it. But they didn't know that a man was sleeping inside, and he also burns to death. Later, when they find this out, they don't regret that a man died because of them. They meet the same homeless guy again, and he yells at them, "You set my house on fire. You know there was a photo of my wife. Why did you do this?" Now they attack him and start beating him. They break his head with a glass, after which he dies on the spot. To cover up the situation, those guys just bury that man. Coincidentally, Hiroki was also there, planting mushrooms. Then, that homeless guy's dog runs to Hiroki and brings him to his owner's dead body. Hiroki also understands that something is wrong. Later, the boys wander into the forest. A thick fog surrounds them. One by one, Hiroki captures them. When they wake up, they see they are in a hole dug by Hiroki. He puts all the mud onto them using a JCB, leaving only their heads slightly exposed. Then he takes photos of them and leaves them there to die. We see that the dog is with him while he is eating mushrooms. Next, we meet Rintaro Fuwa, a famous news anchor known for his kindness and wisdom. Married women admire him. His book on good parenting has made him extremely popular, but his public image is a lie. Behind the scenes, he is having an affair with another woman. When he comes home, we see Hiroki, who was also living there. As Hiroki walks past him, his handkerchief falls down. When Hiroki returns it, Rintaro says, Yes, I am the famous anchor Rintaro. Please don't tell anyone that I live here. Oh wait, here's my signed autograph book." And he leaves. Hiroki was thinking, I only wanted to return his handkerchief. When Rintaro comes home, he starts beating his wife over very small mistakes. Then he hugs her and says, "See, you are hurt. I don't want to hurt you, but whose mistake was it? Yours." We also see the same girl who has an affair with Rintaro is 4 months pregnant. He gives her some money and asks her to get an abortion. A few months later, the same girl comes to meet him. She has a 3 to 4 month old child. He goes to her house and says, "You want to blackmail me?" He takes out some money and says, "Take this. This should be enough." She says, "I didn't come for money. I went for an abortion, but I changed my mind and decided to give birth. I kept your money. I don't need it." She gives his money back. This hurts his ego. He thinks she is humiliating him, and he starts beating her. And suddenly, she dies. Panicking, he hides the baby in a closet, wipes his fingerprints, and runs away. The next day, when Hiroki and the others come to see the place, they find a note with fingerprints on it, but they don't know who it belongs to, so they cannot match it with anyone. When the news comes on TV, Rintaro reacts to it and says, "Very bad. Whoever did this is not good. At least the child is safe, the one kept in the closet." Now Hiroki sees this news and says, "We never told anyone that the child was in the closet, Rintaro, so you are the killer." The next day, Rintaro comes somewhere for a shoot. Hiroki arrives disguised as a mascot and kidnaps him. When Rintaro opens his eyes, he is inside a water tub. His hands and legs are tied, so he cannot move. Hiroki says, "Water torture is one of the most brutal techniques used to torture someone." Rintaro says, "Why did you catch me? Who are you?" Hiroki says, "Did you forget that we met outside the apartment? You gave me your book. Your fingerprints were on it. When I matched them with the money, it matched. That's when I confirmed that you are the killer." Rintaro starts begging. "It was a mistake. That wasn't my fault." Hiroki replies, "But you also assault your wife and children." Rintaro says, "How do you know this?" Hiroki says, "I read your sweet words in your book, and I understood the bitterness behind the text." Now the water level is slowly increasing. Hiroki comes with a knife and cuts his spear of justice. You know what I meant. Then he increases the water level further. Rintaro starts drowning and dies. We are shown that Hiroki came on vacation with his colleagues. After bathing in a hot spring, he is eating with them. One of them asks, "Chief, what type of girl do you like?" Hiroki says, "My type. There was a girl in my school whom I loved. I was so obsessed with her." They ask, "Really? So where is she now?" Hiroki replies, "She died in an incident." But from another room, he hears a lot of noise. We see a company president partying with his colleagues. The president is a scoundrel. He is misbehaving with his junior colleagues and also harassing female co-workers. He can do anything because if someone refuses, he will fire them. He puts a cigarette in a bowl, fills it with a drink, tells his junior to drink it. "If you don't drink it, you will lose your job." The junior tries to drink it, but cannot. The president gets angry and starts beating him. Hiroki and the others enter the room and show their badges. "We are police. What is going on here?" The president gets scared and runs into the jungle. Hiroki attacks him with a toy gun. The man slips and falls from the mountain and gets badly injured. Hiroki comes to take a photo but says, "I'm not interested anymore." An ambulance arrives and takes him away. Later, he is also fired from the company because of his behavior. We see Hiroki returning from the trip by car, telling himself, "The one I loved. I wish to kill her with my own hands." Then we meet a high school teacher, Taisuke Henkyoji, who is very popular among girls. He is also extremely rich. His family owns 5-star hotels and big hospitals, but among all the girls, he gives his attention to a nerd girl named Nanami. No, not this Nanami. Nanami Shirakawa. Taisuke gives all his attention to her. They start chatting. Taisuke says he likes her. After chatting for a while, Taisuke asks for her nude photos. She sends them. One day, she finds Taisuke's computer unlocked and discovers many folders, each named after a girl. Inside are their nude photos. Taisuke comes from behind and says, "Shirakawa, it's my collection." He also warns her that if she tells anyone, he will leak all her nudes. Nanami asks why he did this to her. She thought he liked her, but Taisuke says, "You're not in my league." This breaks Nanami's mental health, and she falls into depression. She tries to end her life by jumping into a waterfall near the school. Coincidentally, Hiroki is nearby, sees someone drowning in the river. It is Nanami. He saves her and takes her to the nearest hospital, which is Henkyoji's hospital. Nanami's mom arrives and thanks Hiroki. Taisuke also arrives and pretends to care about Nanami. Hiroki wants to return to Tokyo, but Taisuke shows him that a landslide has blocked the road, and it will take 2 to 3 days to clear. So Taisuke offers him a stay at his 5-star hotel. Nanami's mom also works there. Later, we see Taisuke talking with his older brother, the chairman of the hotel. His brother says, "Why won't you stop this? Last time we faced many difficulties cleaning up your mess." Taisuke says, "Oh, you're talking about Sato." We see a flashback. In high school, Taisuke used to bully Sato. Sometimes he pulled down his pants in front of the whole class. Sometimes he forced him to jerk off in front of them. But he crossed the line when he took him to the same mountain where Nanami jumped and said, "Jump from here and we'll stop bullying you." And that dumbass bitch actually jumped and died. Flashback ends. Taisuke says, "That wasn't my fault. We were just playing." He also says, "If Nanami dies there too, that will be good. All headaches will be gone." Then he shows Nanami's nudes to his brother. Behind them, Nanami's mother hears everything and realizes that he is the reason for her daughter's condition. She says, "I will tell everything to the police." Taisuke replies, "If you do that, you will lose this job. Remember, you don't even have a husband to support you." She says, "I can do anything for my daughter," and she leaves. Taisuke sits, calmly says, "My lawyer will handle everything. I can even buy those police officers if something goes wrong." Behind them, Hiroki hears everything. That night, when Taisuke goes to the school to get his laptop and erase all evidence, he sees 2 dolls in the biology lab. While checking his laptop, one doll suddenly appears beside him, and he loses consciousness. When he wakes up, he is on the same mountain where Sato and Nanami jumped. He is tied to a chair. Hiroki has made a campfire there. In fear, Taisuke says, "My dad will give you as much money as you want." But we know Hiroki has no interest in money. Hiroki sets his body on fire and says, "If you want to survive, there's only one option. Jump from the mountain." Taisuke jumps, but that unlucky bastard lands on a rock and died. After this incident, when Taisuke's reality comes out, the Henkyoji Empire is destroyed. We see Hiroki's album, where Taisuke is number 76, along with all the previous culprits. Later, during Christmas, Hiroki dresses as Santa and his colleagues as reindeer, giving chocolates to kids. 2 kids come and suddenly eat those chocolates. His colleague tries to give them more, but they run away. We later learn that those kids have a difficult life. Their father died recently, their mother works at a shop. She also has a boyfriend, but he constantly abuses both her and the kids. That's why the kids stay outside until their mother comes home. We see them enter the house with their mother. Her boyfriend is lying on the couch watching TV. He demands her salary, keeps most of it for himself, and gives her only a little money for living expenses. She asks for some extra money to buy diapers for the kids, but he gets angry and starts hitting her. When her daughter tries to protect her, he hits her too. Then, he orders her to go buy him beer. She leaves with the kids to get it. Hiroki sees them. After they leave, Hiroki enters the house and beats the man so badly that he stuffs him into a bag and takes him away. When the kids and their mother return home, the boyfriend is gone. Later, we see Hiroki sitting comfortably at home, drinking coffee. He tells his dog, "You know, this year I put up a new Christmas tree," and we see the man stripped naked, tied with barbed wire, left outside in the freezing cold, slowly dying. Meanwhile, the kids sleep peacefully beside their mother. And honestly, this is the most heart-touching panel in the entire manga. On the other side, Hiroki is also sleeping peacefully, and this is where the story ends. At the moment, this manga only has 19 chapters, and it has been on hiatus since around 2022 due to the author's health issues. Rumors say the writer's health problems forced the series to stop. Maybe the author himself got disturbed by how dark his own manga. If new chapters appear in the future, we'll definitely cover them. Until then, let me know in the comments which manga you want me to explain.